Oh yeah, we are deep into the RCV install now. Starting to get dirty. Oh! Yeah, we're back at it again with the YJ. It's been quite a journey doing what I thought originally was going to be something super easy, and really it's not that hard of a job to do, but it's just been a lot of little things. Trying to figure out what do we actually need to replace, what do we need to upgrade, all that kind of stuff. We originally started by just chopping everything off, and then we moved the spring hangers and shackle hangers forward. We did a little bit of work on the axle, put some gussets on there, cut off all the extra junk, and now we are to the most time-consuming part, and this has been putting everything back in there. Previously, I had tried to put the RCV axles into the Dana 44, and I decided, you know, I should hold off on that because everything is going to get really hot when we heat up the axle housing to do our welding on the C's and all that. So I called it off, and now we're going to do it in this video. I ended up getting everything in the driver's side, and it was a long process because you have to shave down the knuckle in several areas, and it's one of those really weird things that you don't want to take all that metal off because you feel like you're making the knuckle weaker, which I guess you are. You don't really know when you've taken enough off. You just have to keep trying, and it's a very long process. Whatever, let's get into it. These are gonna make the axle a lot stronger and hopefully hold up to these 38s a lot better. All right, now for the fun part. You can see we got that bolt cut down smooth, so now the RCV boot can fit in there. This is the part that I have to do a million times until I figure out if it's open up enough and it's actually gonna work. If it doesn't, I think this is the part we'll have to focus on. Getting the inside in there so the crown on that bell can swing in there. There's the boot with a little bit of placing. That in there. Take a wild guess why this part is annoying. Packed to the brim with grease. It's everywhere. Wish I had some gloves, but I'm out. So we're just going for it. And you got a angle. This inner burr field. All right, so it's obviously not ready yet. Got to pull that stuff out and we'll do some more grinding. I think we just need to get this part down a little bit more. Holy moly, we might have done it. So that was definitely easier than the other side. That was only my second time trying that side. It helps when you have another side to look at and you know how much to take off and where. The inside of that knuckle seems to be one of the most critical spots. So we got it in there. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna assemble this knuckle and then get the other wheel on there and try to get my steering done all today. So let's give it a shot. So in a previous video, I talked about this ring that goes onto that knuckle. You can see it's got a bunch of different holes. It can be clocked in different areas. This side right here is much thicker than this side. So I've got to make sure we put it in the right way this time. All right, we're making some progress, and I'm making the garage even dirtier than before. So now we're at messing with the hubs. This is what the internal part of the hub looks like. For a stock Wagoneer axle, this is like 19 spline or something weird. We need to swap it out with this one that is 30 spline, and we're using worn hubs. There's a snap ring on the top and a snap ring on the bottom. We just got to take both of those out, put in the new spline, and then put the snap rings back in, and then we can just slide this guy in there and seal it up. All right, here's the brake line kit we got. This is the 1550 from Rubicon Rubicon Express. This is a 22-inch brake line kit for the front. So we've got new brackets, new clips, new braided brake lines. Hopefully these work. Let's throw them on. Old busted, new hotness. You can see this thing's basically twice the length, and I think what we're gonna end up doing is like wrapping around the shock and coming around the back. We've got plenty of room to play with because we've got 22 inches now. We're actually gonna have a place for the shock connection to mount. Probably just gonna drill tap into the frame right there, and then like every project I have, there's something coming later on, right? Because we're gonna have to move these shock towers forward and higher. I want to do some heavy duty ones, so if we ever switch to coilover, we can use the same tower. You know, we'll have new shocks and all that. So right now we need to just make these brake lines work, and we also kind of want to keep in mind our future stuff. So if you look on this side, kind of ugly right now, but we're just gonna take that because later on it's gonna get changed. So I learned the hard way with my new camera setup that if I have a microphone attached to it and then I use that same attachment to charge, that it does not record sound. I don't know why. Now you don't get to hear it. That's probably good for some of you, but then again, you're listening to my voice again right now. Anyways, if you have any questions, I'm probably gonna leave stuff out now. Just put them down in the comments and I'll answer them, and otherwise, here's what we did. Boom shakalaka. Yes, the Jeep is all put back together. Is it perfect? No. We'll get into that in a minute, but quick overview. Boom. There's an RCV in there. The orange boots are the dead giveaway. We've got new 1-ton Chevy rod ends. I call them 1 ton, but really the half tons and 3/4 tons use these too, so it makes me feel good inside to use them and say, you know, these are 1 ton joints. But yeah, these are some strong Chevy ones. So we did what we were planning on doing. We just drilled this out 7/8, and then we put an insert in there, and we're able to run that tie rod in from the other side. So everything worked out there. Got our new Rubicon Express brake lines. I believe these ones are 22 inches, and they are about twice the length of the stock ones that are on there. A little bit different way of mounting it. I've done this many times in a lot of vehicles. It works great, and you can always flip it around and try to do it the other way too, but it's nice and out of the way. Brake line is kind of rough right now. This hard line just bent really weird and goes in between the shock and the tower there. Eventually we're gonna have a new tower on there, so I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not gonna mess with any of the shock stuff right now. Let's just wait till we get our new tower on. We don't have to have it right now. I think these shocks are gonna do fine for us. We're probably got about 1/3 exposed right now, so I mean, hopefully we have 2/3 left to go down and more than enough to compress. This last hose right here, we just need to set up the breather for the axle tube right there. You can kind of see it poking out on the top of the differential, and then you can see the drive shaft is out. So the drive shaft is out, and I think tomorrow I'm gonna run into town, town, Sacramento. I'm going to find Sacramento Driveline that I've heard a bunch about. I've never been there. I know a couple people have dealt with them and say they're awesome. I'm not really sure what they're gonna be able to do for me. I gotta get a new front drive shaft one way or another. I'm gonna keep it 1310. Just so you know, that's my fusible link. Hopefully those will break before anything more important breaks. I measured it out from yoke to yoke. It's about 42.5 inches. I'm gonna see if they can just extend my current drive shaft and help save me some money, or if I have to get something new. The reason why I think we might have to get something new is because I'm hoping to have like as much slip as I can get. Not because the Jeep's gonna flex a bunch, but because I might end up, you know, stretching it another inch or pulling it back an inch, you know, just trying to dial everything in to where it needs to be. Once we start driving it and flexing it out, I'm gonna have a better idea of where everything needs to be. That's one thing I love about leaf springs, is you can kind of just tweak things back and forth like that. Unfortunately, we are not going to be taking this thing out of the garage. We're not even going to be driving it. It's ready to go right now. Everything is tightened down, torqued down. Brakes are bled. It's on the charger right now. Yeah, it's still charging up the battery. I've got a parasitic draw, so every once in a while, if I don't drive it, it'll get kind of low on battery. But I was looking forward to driving it, and then when I put the drag link on, it's just such a steep angle. I don't even want to mess with it. Let me show you what it looks like. So after all said and done, we ended up putting the tie rod end on the top of our Chevy Astro pitman arm. So the pitman arm's super flat, which is great. Gets it away from the diff. We've probably got about 4 inches away from the diff right now. But the angle up there, I mean, it doesn't look that bad. But if you look at the overall angle, that is a really steep drag link going up and down. And I just know it's gonna react poorly on the road. It's probably gonna have kind of twitchy steering, and off-road it's not gonna be as strong. It's not gonna be an easy way to turn it, and it's just ugly. I really just don't like it, and that's where the bad news comes in. We're gonna have to tear this thing open again. I ordered a Dana 44 flat top knuckle and a heavy duty steering arm, and this is just for the passenger side, so it won't be high steer. This will be crossover steering, and once we get down there and look at it, I'll show you why we got to do this. I mean, don't get me wrong, we could definitely run it like this. We could try it. I could at least drive around the street. I just don't even see a point in doing it. You know, if there's a fire at my house or some emergency we need to get this thing out, then yeah, sure. But this drag link is just too low, and you know, this isn't the kind of steering I want. So what we're gonna do, this flat top knuckle, it's basically gonna be all flat right here, and then there'll be an arm that bends around, and this part of the drag link, this tie rod end, is gonna go top down right here. And then instead of attaching right here, you know, it's up here. So it's up a couple inches and it's over. It's just gonna be a much more shallow angle. And the other perk to that is this isn't gonna be behind the tie rod, so we'll be able to mount a hydraulic ram right there, you know, have our hydraulic assist point this way. We could mount the end of the ram on the axle on that side, and then they'll push out, you know, right here, help us turn these 38s. Pretty big for a stock steering setup. We haven't had a lot of issues with it, but there has been a couple times I've been bound up and, you know, had to get it rolling before I could turn. So whatever parts I can put down in the description for you guys, I'll definitely put them down there if you're interested in using the same ones, or if you just want to, you know, check them out. Check out those links. I thought we were done. We've got some more time to go before we're going to be driving this, but I'll try to get a shot from the side. I think this thing looks pretty cool with the stretch. I think it's going to do way better. I mean, it's only 4 inches, but now we've got 4 inches in the front and 1 inch in the back, 5 inches total. I feel like you can notice that off-road. We'll find out. Once this thing's out of the garage, that's when we're really gonna start going big, and we're gonna rebuild this Dana 60 that we have, finish up the Dana 70, and then we're gonna start getting the Samurai prepped for Rubicon, how it is right now. And then after ZukiCon, we're swapping that baby. It's gonna be a big. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for sticking with us. See you guys in the next one.